Hey, I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of the AWM NFL Podcast. My name is Riccardo Stewart. I'm your host, and I'm joined with my friends. Miller, we call him the Truth. Sam Acho, we call him the Mayor. And lastly, Jeff Locke, who we call the Professor because he's always dropping knowledge. And so we get to this point of the year where it's the end of the season. Right? A couple of guys are still playing maybe for the Super Bowl, but for the most people they're done and players are done. It's been a long year and they got all sorts of things on their mind in the offseason. Where am I going to train? Where am I going to go to vacation? Am I getting married? Did we have a kid? There's a ton of things that are happening with NFL players. Am I going to play for a different team? And with it, you always have to have the appropriate team behind you, guiding you in the areas in which you want to go, just kind of navigating you on these things. And so we have experienced financial advisors here that work for a family office, as well as experience in the NFL. And so I want to lean on you guys as always to get some of your insight. So for you, Sam, when you were getting done with the season as a player, what were some of the things that you were looking forward to in the offseason?
Well, there were two phases. I think the first phase was when I was a rookie. I was looking forward just to having some time to breathe. And what do I mean by that? For all the rookies who are in this situation, you understand that you've been grinding for essentially the last 18 months. So going into your senior year, before your junior year, or maybe you came out as a junior, you were grinding that offseason. You got to your last year in college, whatever year that was, redshirt, sophomore, junior, whatever it is, right? 6th year, you were grinding. And then all of a sudden you're training for the NFL Combine and training for the Senior Bowl, or maybe the East-West Shrine game and training for the draft. Then you get there early as a rookie to training camp and OTAs and a rookie mini camp. And then you get to the preseason and the regular season and maybe even the play. It's a lot. It's a lot. And so for me, it was just the ability to breathe as a rookie, maybe first, second year player. And then when I got married and started having kids, it was an ability. I was looking forward to the opportunity to reconnect with my family. And what do I mean by that? No, it wasn't like I was just completely disconnected. But as we all know, when you're going through regular season, you have your routines and you have your rhythms. We go through a lot of trade-offs. Thursday nights oftentimes were spent with the teams, with the fellas at the defensive dinner at a restaurant or at someone's house. Fridays were oftentimes traveling, or maybe Saturdays, depending on where the game is. Game on Sunday, back on Monday, doing your rehab, you're in the facility, maybe off on Tuesday, you're there on Wednesday, all the way till maybe 6 or 5:30, depending. So just a chance to reconnect. And so for me, what I look forward to the most as a younger player and even as a veteran player was a chance for reprieve, like to rest, but also to reconnect.
Just kind of feel like, you know what, let's just shut this down and just rest. I like that, Sam. So transitioning to a less zen version of Sam, Zach. What are some of the things that, I mean, I know when you were thinking about it, the younger version of Zach, and I can only imagine the married version of Zach, going on vacations, but what were some of the things players aren't thinking about in the offseason, but they should be?
I think what Sam said and decompressing, you have to do that as a player and you have to take care of your body. Like there's going to be injuries that are nagging. And if you don't take care of them in the off season, they will keep showing up throughout your career. And so if that means an off season surgery, get it taken care of before you get closer to the regular season, before you report to camp, those type of things. Handle that stuff early, get second opinions. Really understand like the mental part of it is where you got to like put that season to bed, but take something away from it. Whatever you learn from it, whatever didn't work for you, whatever you think, like it's early and you don't have to do it right away. You can take a month, take a couple months to yourself, but start having a strategy, a plan for where you're going to work out before you go back to the team stuff, where you're going to work out before you go to in between OTAs and training camp, what you're going to be doing there, and start to plan that out. Start to book if you're going to be in a different city, go into a facility, book those places out, get the plan set in place to where you're like, this is what I'm going to do so that I can achieve this next season. If you want to be a Pro Bowler, that actually starts now. And as much as you can, like nutrition, diet, all those things. When I got in my best football shape, I did it during the off season, because during the season, it's a struggle just to get your body right week to week. You can't always set those things up. So having that plan when it comes to nutrition, your physical shape, getting that in place as soon as possible once you've kind of decompressed a little bit, because it's easier to stay in shape than get out of shape and then have to get back into football shape. So yeah, take some time, rehab those injuries, but stay in that kind of football shape so that you're ready to go in OTAs. You're ready to go for training camp, because the off season goes by so fast. I mean, you could go on those trips, but before you know it, you're already back reporting to your team, doing your beginning physicals, and it happens so quick. You don't have that plan. You're going to be behind everyone else. Everyone else is starting to do that more and more, and take care of their bodies even that much better.
So it's important for us as family office advisors to make sure that we tap in with all of our NFL players in a postseason meeting. And most people have no idea what a postseason meeting is. They've never done one before. So Jeff, would you explain like what that meeting is, the purpose of it, and exactly what are we trying to do and accomplish in those meetings?
Yeah, so these are really some of the biggest meetings of the year that we have with our clients. And it's really part look back at the prior year and part look forward at this year and future years of what we want to get done. So on the look back side, we're looking back at spend. How much did I spend and what did I spend on? Okay. We're looking back at income and we're looking back at taxes. How much did I pay in taxes? And those data points give us, hey, what does 2025 look like? What am I going to owe in taxes in April? And how has that changed? What investments are I in? And what investments am I in and why? And you guys all kind of hit on it in different ways. But like, what priorities and goals do I have, and have they changed? Because your priorities and goals are going to lead exactly how you should be invested. So we got to know, what are the plans for the off season? Where are you going to be? What trip do you got planned? How have things changed? You getting married soon? We doing the engagement ring sooner than we thought? All those little things we got to know about. And then there's just a bunch of logistics and cleanup, making sure everything is protected. We're talking insurance, we're talking trusts, we're talking LLCs, making sure all those things are getting taken care of. And one of the coolest things we do that we think our clients really love is we can actually look at all this data and then say, hey, if you keep spending this way, here's how long your money can last, or here's how much you need to earn going forward to really sustain the lifestyle you've already started, or what adjustments you need to make. Because we'll never, ever be the spending police. You don't ever want your team being those people, but we're going to tell you the trade-offs that come with spending or changing your lifestyle in certain ways.
Sam, what was something you wish your advisor would have talked to you about postseason, but maybe did it?
Yeah. Honestly, Coach, I wish they would have known how the pay structure in the NFL worked, because it would have saved me from a whole bunch of headaches. What do I mean by that? So back when I was playing, we would get paid every week during the season. So it was a 16-game season, a 17-week season. And so I would get checks every week. And they were big checks, right? Because it was only for 17 weeks. And I would live as if those checks were going to come for 52 weeks, as in the rest of the year. But they weren't. And mind you, I wasn't ever a big spender, or I don't think I was really wasteful with my money, but I was one of these guys like Jeff is talking about, where I was planning a wedding. And, I was excited about the wedding and the honeymoon and all these things. All of a sudden, get married, do all in the off season, right? Do all that stuff, and take our honeymoon, whatever. And I'm looking back at my account. I'm like, hold on, why is the money going out? No more money's coming in. And yes, I thought I was a good planner, but it was just different. They didn't understand that at that time, the NFL pay schedule was a 17-week pay schedule. Well, now, and that wasn't for every team. That was just for probably 90% of the teams. Well, as Zach and I, we were both part of NFLPA. There were some conversations with NFLPA that said, hey, what if we change that to, instead of a 17-week, maybe a 34-week, or now there's an 18-game schedule, 36-week schedule. And so there are certain changes that are happening when it comes to how those checks are received and when I'm getting paid. We talk about the 5 skill sets of being a pro, building multi-generational wealth. One of them is winning the cash flow game. And so I wish my advisor would have known how that cash flow game worked specifically to the NFL players, so that I would have at least had the information to make a more informed decision. Mind you, I was young. I thought I was good. I was doing my own thing, and I ended up being okay. But it was just some extra pressure that I wasn't expecting, because they didn't have the knowledge to be able to implement the goals that I had for me and my family.
I'm thinking I want to hear your planning process for a player who may be about to enter a big contract this offseason, as opposed to a player that may be contemplating retirement or maybe possibly finding another team for one more year? Is there a different process? And if so, what is that?
Yeah, the processes are very different. So when you're coming up on a big contract, that life-changing money, second or third deal, you got to get stuff ready. So right when you put your name on the dotted line, things are already moving or you're too late, right? We're talking residency planning. Where am I going to live so I can pay the least in taxes on some of my income? We're talking about privacy protection. You're about to be an even bigger name than you already are. We got to make sure all your stuff is buttoned up so those fans can't come find you in the future, tax-wise, and then insurance-wise. A lot of people don't know this, but you're going to have an insurance situation where you got to go and get a bunch of life insurance to help cover for a tax bill in the future. And your new team is going to be competing for the same life insurance policies. So you got to go and actually make moves before the team does that signs you, or you're going to have to pay double or triple for the insurance that you actually need. These are all little things you got to be thinking about now before that ink gets dry. And then for guys transitioning out, it's one of the, Zach, Sam, you can agree with me or disagree. Like, it's one of the weirdest moments in your life of like when you're changing from being a pro athlete to not. And the one thing that you got to know is like, hey, do I have the money set aside I need to transition out? Like, when is my severance coming in? That's going to help me. What NFL benefits do I have access to that are going to help me the next 3 to 5 years as I move on to my next career? Because the one consistent thing is it always takes longer to transition into your next career than you actually think it's going to take. And it's going to take more money to transition than you ever thought it would for you to support your family.
This is really helpful because when I think about the offseason, we don't naturally think about the things that you guys mentioned. As an NFL player, to be thinking about, Zach, where are you going to train? Where are you going to train in between your training? What are you going to eat? Sam, making sure your advisor is talking about cash flow and then the pay structure. How are things actually structured? Am I coming in across life, not just enhancing money, that was you getting in the draft, but life truly changing money, second and third contract? And how do I plan for that? As to how do I plan for retirement? So yeah, there's going to be the boat trips. Yeah, there's going to be the vacation. Yeah, there's going to be a lot, but there's so many other things that are massively important for your life. And so if you have any questions to the things that were mentioned today in today's podcast, you got maybe you want some more resources on that, please reach out to us. Our number is 602-989-5023.